This is the 7th grade worksheet over standard form. So as you saw in the presentation today, there's two different ways we can graph standard form. We can use the formulas and the equations to find the x and the y-intercept, or we can let x equals 0 and find y, and let y equals 0 and find x, and that's how we can also find the x and the y-intercept. Once we have the x and the y-intercept, I'll plot my x-intercept number on the x-axis, plot my y-intercept number on the y-axis, connect the 2 points that are formed, and I'll be done. So if you put any points in the quadrants today, in quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4, we know it's wrong. Because again, one dot, no matter which method I choose, has to land on the x-intercept, the x-axis. The other dot has to land on the y-intercept, the y-axis. That's the only way this works. So let's try both techniques here. Let's start with number 1. All right, I'm going to go ahead and use the if x equals 0 technique first. All right, so what that says to do is if I want to find the opposite intercept, I let the variable that I'm not looking for equal 0. So one time through, I'm going to let x equal 0, and I'm going to solve my equation. Well, what happens here, when I let x equal 0 in number 1, that just goes away. So it says 2y equals 8. Well, we already all know that 2 times 4 is 8. That means y has to equal 4. My y-intercept is 4. So this graph is going to go through the y-axis at 4. All right, then the other way through, I'm going to let y equal 0. Well, the same thing's going to happen. When I change this y into 0, it's going to be 2 times 0 is 0. So it just falls away. So when I get rid of that, it just says x equals 8. Well, that one's really easy. I don't even have to solve anything. If the y number is 0, x is 8. And if x is 8, that means my x-intercept is 8, or the graph goes through the x-axis at 8. Well, there's my 2 dots. I connect my dots. And there's the graph of x plus 2y equals 8. Done. Let's try that one more time with number 2. Number 2 is a little bit of an odd duck, and I want to make sure you see something here. So we're going to again go through the same procedure with 3x minus y equals 9. First time through, I'm going to let x equals 0. Again, that's how I'm going to find my y-intercept, because I'm going to end up with a y number here. Well, if I let the x number equal 0, this first part is going to be 3 times 0, or 0. So that's going to go away. Now I want you to notice what the equation says here. It says minus y, or what is now negative y, since there's nothing left in front, we're covering that up. Negative y equals 9. If you look here, I'm not solving for negative y. I'm solving for positive y. So what you want to do there when you have the opposite of y, or negative y, is you would just want to run across the line and flip all the signs. Negatives become positive, positives become negative. So negative y is going to become positive y, and positive 9 is going to become negative 9. So if negative y is 9, then positive y has to be negative 9. So that means my y-intercept is negative 9, or the graph is going to go through the y-axis, the one that goes up, down, at negative 9. Then we're going to go through and let y equal 0. Well, if I let y equal 0, this part here where it says y is just going to disappear. So it says 3x equals 9. 3 times what number is 9? Well, you already know that 3 times 3 is 9. So x has to equal 3. So put a dot on my x-axis. My x-intercept happens to be 3. Once I've done that, I connect my points. And there's the graph of the line. And you can use that technique in all problems. And again, as you saw in the notes today, it doesn't work with just standard form. It actually works with anything. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on down here and take a look at 3 and 4, which is where the homework helper will conclude. Now we're going to use that other technique here. The other technique that you saw in the instruction today says, if I write these in standard form, how do I know it's in standard form? Well, I know if it's in standard form if the x thing is first, then there's the y thing, then there's an equal sign, and then there's a number by itself. And as you can see, looking at these questions, 3 and 4, really looking at all the questions on the worksheet, they're all in that form. The x thing is first, the y thing is next, then the equal sign, then the number. The x thing is first, the y thing is next, then the equal sign, then the lonesome number, the constant. Once you have it in that form, standard form is defined by ax plus by equals c. Which is, again, just a fancy way of saying x thing first, y thing second, then that lonesome number. we can recognize what A, B, and C are based on this form. Look, A is whatever's in front of x, just like it says right here. Well, in front of x is negative 5. So my A value is negative 5. My B value is in front of the y. Well, in front of the B value here, it says 6. And my C value is that number that's hanging out at the end there, 30. Now you're saying, how does that help me? What are you talking about? What are you doing? Well, again, look back on your notes. We can find the x-intercept by taking the C value and dividing it by the A value. We can find the y-intercept by taking the C value and dividing it by the B value. So the C value here works out to be 30. The A value here is negative 5. 30 divided by negative 5 is negative 6. So the x-intercept is negative 6. So the graph of negative 5x plus 6y equals 30 is going to go through the x-axis at negative 6. Y-intercept is C over B. C value is 30. B value is 6. So that's 30 over 6. 30 divided by 6 is 5. So the graph is going to go through the y-axis here at 5. To connect my points, there's the graph of negative 5x plus 6y equals 30. All right, let's try that technique one more time. And again, as you're going through the problems on your own, you are not forced to pick one or the other. You won't be forced to pick one or the other on the quiz. You may be asked for what the x and the y-intercept are, but either method does exactly that. It's going to end up finding you what the x-intercept is and what the y-intercept is. It's just different ways to get there. So, x-intercept is, again, C over A. Y-intercept is C over B. Same formulas. Well, let's look at negative 6x plus 3y equals negative 9 and identify here. Again, A is whatever's in front of the x value. Well, in front of the x, I see negative 6. So A has to equal negative 6. The B value is whatever's in front of the y. Well, in front of the y, I see a 3. And the C value is this number hanging out at the end here, negative 9. Okay, once I have that, now I can find my x and the y-intercept. Now, some of you might already be looking to this question and going, well, wait a minute, C over A, negative 9 over negative 6, that's not a whole number. You're correct, it's not a whole number. Negative 9 over negative 6 is actually a fractional answer, or if you do division on a calculator, you'll probably end up with a decimal. This is negative 9 divided by negative 6. Well, if you want, you can reduce that fraction down to 3 over 2, or what is equivalent to 1.5. Now, how do we graph 1.5? Well, we know where 1 is on the x-axis, and we know where 2 is on the y-axis. 1.5 is exactly halfway between 1 and 2. Hence the reason it's 1.5. Put a dot between 1 and 2 on the x-axis. There's nothing wrong with that. Y-intercept is the C value over the B value, and some of you are probably a little more pleased with that, because this is going to be negative 9 over 3, or negative 9 over 3, or negative 3 when we divide. So the y-intercept is negative 3. So the dot goes through the y-axis here at negative 3. Connect my points, and there's the graph of negative 6x plus 3y equals negative 9.